if you watch a lot of Law and Order like I do, or How to Get Away with Murder, which she does.
No, I know.
She watched every show on TV.
Not that one.
Then you would have heard the term plea bargaining, right? So we've got defense attorney Peter Champagne here this morning to tell us what that means and why he thinks we ought to be using it more in our legal system. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, ladies.
I love your colors. I don't
viewers.
know who put your colors together this morning, but
Thank you very
really
much.
somebody was thinking on a very high level.
That special lady, thank you.
Yes, yes. She has great taste, black and white and red.
Say that a great man.
Red shoes as well, eh?
Yes, I know. Tell me a little bit about this concept of plea bargaining now. It's not foreign to Jamaica. We've got new legislation that's been passed, and you're encouraging that it be used more.
Yes, it is actually new legislation. In June of this year, the Pleas and Negotiations Act was passed. And it is new in the sense that before that, you had legislation dealing with that. But under the previous legislation, it was a situation where accused persons would have to offer up something in exchange for a reduced sentence. With this new law, you don't have to necessarily offer up something. So it takes into account a number of things, including the victim's wishes in a particular crime. It takes into account negotiations as between defense lawyers and prosecutors. It takes into account payments that one person, an accused, may want to pay in terms of restitution and compensation to victims. So it is very new, and it ought to be encouraged.
Okay, so for example, give us an example in layman's terms. If Taylor committed a crime, for example, she could use the plea bargain to...
Well, she'd be acquitted, so she wouldn't be able to use it. She'd be freed.
Why?
She's innocent.
My attorney just tell you something a while ago, Simone.
Okay, we could use another name, Sir Peter, since you don't want to.
No, but I understand.
Yes.
If she were to commit a crime, hypothetically speaking, she could, through her attorney, indicate that she would want a sentence indication as to what would be the likely sentence that she would get if she's going to plead guilty to a particular offense. And there's room for negotiations, as the term suggests, in the truest sense. And with the new practice direction that is on stream now, you can actually approach a judge and ask a judge, what would you give Delia if she were to plead guilty, for instance, in relation to a lesser offense or the offense for which she's charged. Before then, you didn't have this sort of latitude. So it puts to rest any uncertainty that an accused person would have in terms of being apprehensive. They don't know what they're going to get, so they don't want to plead guilty. Might as well just go to trial because I don't know what I'm going to get.
But one of the things, Peter, is you go to trial and sometimes it goes on and on and on and on and on for years.
Yes.
And if you take the plea, you very well may based on the agreement, be in and out in even a shorter time than you would have been in court.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
And the legislation also takes into account, for instance, if you're in custody and you cannot get bail, it would take into account the amount of time that you have spent already before the plea is tendered. So it is wide-ranging, and it should be encouraged.
So the legislation is really passed to help to clear up more quickly some of the backlog?
Yes, because quite frankly, and I'll say this, I know some of my colleagues, especially at the private bar, will be critical of me with this statement, but ever so often there is the emphasis on lawyers should defend, lawyers should act in the best interest of their clients. But one needs to remember that acting in the best interest of a client also includes a situation where when you get instructions from your clients, and those instructions are essentially an affront to common sense, it doesn't make any sense. You have an obligation to say to your client, listen, this can't withstand the test of anything. And the advice that I'm giving you is that you should plead guilty. Sometimes you have counsel that in the face of overwhelming evidence still go to court and still want to contest the matter. And quite frankly, it takes away from that counsel's sincerity whenever there is a genuine case and you wish to contest it. So your obligation is much wider. It includes situations where you have instructions that clearly doesn't make any sense. It is your duty to indicate and give the proper advice to your client.
You're saying it should be mandatory for students at Normandy Law School to familiarize themselves with the plea bargain legislation. Why? Do you think that this will encourage more lawyers to
Delia, there is a culture amongst lawyers, whether we want to admit it or not, where the culture is fight everything, let the crown put up everything, let they put everything, put to proof everything. And you take issue with a number of things that really you're not taking issue with at the end of the day. And I think that if you were to start at the law school where persons leaving the law school understand the concept of plea bargaining and in this new legislation, then they would be able to take an objective approach in certain circumstances. Because really and truly, since the passage of this law in June of this year, I can't think of any situation where it has been used as
That's
yet.
what I was just going to say to you, because I heard the news story that says
Yes.
nobody's using it.
Yes.
So what's the hesitation, you think?
I think the hesitation, like with most new things, there is a reluctance to get involved. It's pretty much like when you had the plea bargaining or special plea days, guilty plea days, which was in October 19th and 20th. Last year when it was first introduced, the persons that took advantage of it were in the region of about 10 or 5. And this time around, we had about 59. And so I think with the passage of time and sensitization in terms of the law, this new law, that persons will take advantage of it, especially the younger ones.
Yeah. Is that sensitization also important to the public?
Yes.
That I should know
Yes.
that when I sit with my attorney, I'm aware of what it is and I can say, listen, what about this?
Yes.
Is that also very, very important?
It is absolutely important, dearly. You've hit the nail on the head. It is very important for the public to be aware because it also saves cost, time. Because if you're made aware as a client or a potential client to an attorney that this is an option, it's something you may well want to consider.
So the sensitization was not done?
Well, it has started. Recently there was a town hall meeting last week. So it is on the way, but I think that
Maybe a little
it
too
needs to. No, it's not too
Okay.
late. Never too late.
Okay.
But I think there needs to be a massive campaign, and I think that is going to happen, where persons are made aware of this new legislation.
Yeah. So you think this has the capacity, if used in the way that you think it can be used?
I think it can work, but with one caveat,
Yes.
one important caveat. It makes no sense to have this legislation in the face of very poor police investigations, very poor cases being put forward, because nobody is going to plead guilty to a case where, on the face of it, when you read the case file, you're able to defend it because there are so many loopholes. So it is going to have to work in conjunction with greater police resources, greater emphasis in terms of skills, utilization of technology in terms of forensic and ballistic experts and so on. And when you have a good case in terms of a prosecution's case, then it would encourage the accused persons to consider seriously the issue of pleading.
That sounds like we have some time before we get there, because all of those issues you mentioned
Yes.
are so relevant,
Yes.
but just seem so far off in terms of a fix.
Getting there, but very slow.
Wow.
Overall, Peter, how do you see this affect? Because we talk about justice all the time. There was a thing people used to block the road and say, we want justice, we want justice. And this is part of ensuring that
Yes.
justice happens,
Yes.
making sure, all the proper policing happens, making sure the client is aware of their rights and the things that are good for them. How far are we from this justice that we keep asking for? There's so many things that seem to be wanting.
I think that in recent times, there have been a lot of developments.
Okay.
This legislation, for instance, is very, very good. There have been developments in terms of looking at the expansion of the courtrooms. It has not yet happened. But in terms of the whole issue, in terms of case management, criminal case management, getting to the issues and so on, those things are happening. It is slow in coming, but there is progress, and it is to be compared with the past, where, for instance, you didn't have these sort of developments coming on stream. So we're getting there, but very slow.
Someone mentioned something this morning about some of the laws that we still have
Yes.
that need to be revised, deleted.
Yes.
The ones from 1835.
Yes. True.
What's happening with that?
I think that is a issue that the Ministry of Justice is going to have to look at seriously. Recently, there was a case where someone had pleaded guilty to a particular offense and the fine was a minuscule amount. And clearly, those fines would have to be revised. And there are some legislation that really and truly doesn't make any sense or is in need of revision. So the Justice Reform Department and so on will have to come on board and perhaps move with more alacrity towards pushing the system forward.
A comprehensive overhaul that we're looking at. But we have hope because you're telling us we should keep hope alive because things are happening. Maybe not as quickly as we'd like, but baby steps to getting us there. All right. Thank you for that.
Peter from Minister of Justice.
Well, okay. Defense Attorney Peter Champagne here with us this morning. What's next, Lily?
Yes, on the set is 2013 Jamaica Prime Minister Youth Awardee for Excellence in Arts and Culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenzik Music with Lionheart.
Hot, me getting it warm again. Smile Jamaica, Kenzica, you guess. Hotter when me perform again. Hotter than 7 go wet up in it down a Brazil from Germany. Bowl of them. Feel me clipping it warm and magical flows. Giving you one of them. Big old head a rust, dead a rust. Have the ghetto just a rust. Big old head a rust, them a rust. I mean the Babylon come stop. What is the deal in a officer? Not even a good evening. Pan your face it reveal size of the car wheel. Rasta nothing in a front seat in a pull me over for beg a dollar. But now bother feel the bench cheap. It's like you give me something to keep. Ticket for buckle me seat. Get me head in a heat. A blanket fresh pan the bed. Me a tell you go easy not a pranky. Say go easy now. Say go easy now. Dan me say easy not a pranky. Say go easy now. Say go easy now. And me say easy not a pranking. Say let go easy not a pranking. Say let go easy not a pranking. Say go easy now. Say go easy now. Dan Babylon a trouble. Them a trouble. Send a double trouble. Trouble yo. Read your record man. Shuffle then muscle yo. Sight of the line man. Know them muscle go. But I not fearing, very daring to the side. Rap steering, step out the car and bring your bail in. License to you, Mr. Goat gearing. Long a couple grand and not the funny understand. The one and go easy, not a pranking. Say go easy, huh? Say go easy, not done. Me say easy, not a pranking. Say go easy, huh? Say go easy, not done. Me say easy, not a pranking. Say let go easy, not a pranking. Say let go easy, not a pranking. Say go easy, not. Say go easy, not done. Well, what is the deal in the officer? Not even a good evening. Pan your face it reveal size of the car wheel. Rasta nothing in a front seat in a pull me over for beg a dollar. But now bother feel the bench cheap. It's like you give me something to keep. Ticket for buckle me seat. Get me head in a heat. So put me slippery in. Me I tell you go easy not a pranking. Say go easy not. Say go easy not. Damn me say easy not a pranking. Say go easy not. Say go easy not. Damn me say easy not a pranking. Say let go easy not a pranking. Say let go easy not a pranking. Say go easy not. Say go easy not.